Last year, we hosted a similar update before the One conference in Halifax, and the response was overwhelmingly very positive. It reinforced our belief in the importance of these sessions, not just to update you on the national profession, but to hear from you directly and address the questions that we know are on your minds. Nous avons parcouru beaucoup de chemin au cours de la dernière année. Nous avons communiqué avec des milliers
to thousands of CPAs across the country through information sessions, consultations, focus groups, among other things. We worked hard to keep you informed every step of the way. Your voice is vitally important. This is your profession, and CPA Canada is committed to listening and responding to your needs.
I'm really proud of the way that we have incorporated your voices into the exciting changes that I'm going to address today. Before we proceed further, though, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina, the Îethka Nakota Nations, and the Otipemisiwak Métis government, and to all the people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Nous sommes ici aujourd'hui pour discuter des défis qui rencontrent la profession.
We are here today to talk about challenges facing our profession, both at home and abroad. Artificial intelligence, geopolitical transformations, climate change, and the evolution of accounting standards. All these things are issues that affect the entire world and which require our collective attention. But I firmly believe that these challenges also open up unlimited possibilities, possibilities that we are able to capitalize on if we consider them all together. All good accountants believe in strength in numbers.
I've heard that for many Canadian CPAs, the decision of the regulators in Ontario and Quebec to leave the national body as of December 20th this year poses a challenge. While this is not the outcome that CPAs in Canada had envisioned, we must respect their decision and focus on the opportunities that lie ahead. Through our extensive consultations this year, we've heard loud and clear from CPAs in both provinces and indeed right throughout Canada that they value, that you value being part of the national body. And we've created an opportunity for our colleagues in Ontario and Quebec to continue to do so. Earlier this month, we began outreach to members in Ontario and Quebec on how they can remain a part of CPA Canada and to continue to access the resources, thought leadership, and benefits they currently enjoy. La force du nombre passe par le maintien.
Strength in numbers means maintaining and growing the CPA community across the country. That is how we can play a key role on the world stage. Canada's CPAs wield enormous influence on the international stage, enabling us to shape the profession of today and tomorrow.
As a proud CPA, an FCPA from Ontario, I will be soon in the same position as many of my colleagues in Ontario and Quebec, who will lose access to the benefits of being part of something bigger. But I'm equally proud to call myself a Canadian CPA. And that's why I was first to sign up to remain part of our national body. I encourage you to join me and other colleagues in Ontario and Quebec in maintaining the unity and the strength of our profession. Together, we can continue to advocate and influence, to share, to grow, and ultimately to future-proof the CPA designation. For the CPAs in Ontario and Quebec joining us today, please check your email, your Pivot magazine, social media, or our website. We are reaching out to you right now, and we've made it as easy as possible for you to stay a part of CPA Canada. For those in the remaining provincial, territorial, and Bermudian bodies, we've ensured that nothing changes. You will automatically continue to be a part of CPA Canada. Let me be clear. The value of a national body is not meant to replace the important work of your provincial body. It's meant to supplement it. Both bodies serve vital and very different functions in Canada's accounting ecosystem. We are not a regulator, and we have no desire to be one. Our focus is on you, advancing your careers, advancing CPAs in your careers, and advancing the profession, our profession, nationally and internationally, now and into the future. CPA Canada
is committed to strengthening and enhancing the profession's global credibility. Only a national organization can play this role. It represents, leads, and influences the profession nationally and internationally, providing exclusive access to guidance, tools, models, and expert analysis on fundamental topics, emerging issues, and current challenges in the accounting field.
We are very proud to continue to develop and provide the professional education program and examinations, including, of course, the CFE, which for many of us, it was a defining moment in our career on the pathway to becoming CPAs. We also continue to provide the expertise and experience through our staffing to support Canada's 4 standard-setting boards, and of course, the publication of the CPA Canada Handbook, which is found in corporate legislation right across Canada in our capital markets, as well as our banking regulations. Nous sommes reconnaissantes à tous les CPA qui nous ont fait part de leur...
We are grateful to all CPAs who shared their insights, their comments, and everything with us this spring. Here's a fact worth noting: 80% of respondents considered extremely important that their employer reimburse CPA Canada's annual dues.
Canadian CPAs are an unmatched force on the national and international stages. And that's why it's so important for CPAs in Ontario and Quebec to remain part of CPA Canada and to be part of something bigger. Le titre de CPA n'est pas seulement un choix de
carrière. The CPA designation is not just a career choice. It's a passport to a respected global profession. I can assure you that CPA Canada will continue to work with the 13 provincial, territorial, and Bermuda associations in the best interests of Canadian CPAs and the profession.
While we may work differently with Quebec and Ontario and their regulators and in new ways, our commitment to all Canadian CPAs remains unwavering. We will always champion your career, your business, both nationally and internationally. And we will always be there for you, the hardworking CPAs who consistently prove you are as dedicated to the profession as are we. Before I hand it over to Beth Wilson, our chair of our board of directors, I would like to thank you for being here. I would like to thank the staff at CPA Canada and the thousands of volunteers we have that continue to support Canadian CPAs and the profession each and every day. And to Beth and our entire board for their unwavering support. Over to you, Beth. Thanks very much. Well-deserved applause. Thanks very much, Pamela. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's an honor to stand before you as chair of CPA Canada's Board of Directors, especially following the insightful words of our president and CEO. Pamela, since my time on the board, I've had the privilege of witnessing your collaborative, solution-driven leadership firsthand as you work to strengthen and solidify the value of a united national accounting profession in Canada. Your commitment to driving change and delivering measurable results is unmatched, inspiring a sense of optimism for the future. And I am filled with hope as we navigate a path forward. I think it really speaks to the resilience and the dynamism that's inherent in our profession. You know, as CPAs, we are no strangers to change. We're living in a time of profound transformation, not just within our profession, but across the global economy. Technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace. Societal expectations are shifting, and the business environment, frankly, it's becoming more complex by the day. Yet amidst this whirlwind, one thing remains constant, and that is the unwavering commitment of CPAs, like all of you, who act with integrity, deliver excellence, and always serve the public interest. Stepping into the role of chair at such a pivotal moment in our profession's history has been a rewarding and a humbling experience for me. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to our board of directors and the leadership team for their steadfast dedication. Their tireless efforts in steering our profession through these transformative times have been nothing short of remarkable. Over this past year, CPA Canada has made it a priority to engage with each of you, the members of the profession, actively listening to your needs, concerns, and aspirations. And we've sought your insight to ensure that your national body not only addresses the challenges we face, but more importantly, seizes the opportunities before us as a profession. Our commitment to global sustainability standards and our advocacy efforts have really helped position Canadian CPAs as leaders on the national and international stage. And the resources and the guidance that we provide are highly valued by our global peers, underscoring the far-reaching impact of our work beyond the borders. The Canadian profession is also recognized globally for our commitment to rigorous and uniform standards. Frankly, the backbone, right, of the country's trusted and transparent and efficient financial markets. And CPA Canada will always be there to support standard setting in Canada. We're dedicated to implementing the recommendations of the Independent Review Committee on Standard Setting to create a new standard setting entity with a diversified funding model that includes CPAs in Canada and additional sources. CPA Canada will continue to provide staffing and technical expertise and stewardship, and the profession's funding support of standard setting will continue at its current levels. But new funding sources will be established to help support emerging areas and needs, most notably sustainability standards. As CPAs, we must continue to adapt to emerging issues of focus and future-proof our careers. And rest assured, CPA Canada is committed to building the professional capacity by providing you with resources, guidance, education, and support to help you stay ahead of these developments. The global stage is one where our presence is not just welcome, but it's sought after. And CPA Canada is really uniquely positioned to help support Canadian CPAs in this way, thanks to our presence on that global stage. After all, the accounting profession, it isn't provincial, it isn't even national, it's global. Canada may represent but a small fraction of the world's economy, but Canadian CPAs have become one of the most influential voices in international accounting. Our collaborations with global peers, academic institutions, and international organizations have not only enhanced the recognition of the CPA designation, but have ensured that our profession remains relevant and respected worldwide. And we recognize that our success on the global stage really relies on the maintenance and the growth of a vibrant community of CPAs right here in Canada. Because as Pamela has said, together we make the profession stronger. And it's my firm belief that the need for a strong national body, one that is 100% focused on seeing CPA succeed, has never been more critical. We must find new ways to communicate, to collaborate, and to move forward together the benefit of all CPAs and the future of our profession. This is a time for us to reimagine CPA Canada as it could be, a CPA Canada that is innovative, it's inclusive, and prepared for the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead. And I'm really excited about the future where our profession not only endures, but it thrives. Now, before I close, I want to thank each of you, our members, all of our volunteers, our national and global partners, and our CPA Canada team members. Your dedication and your expertise are the foundation for everything that we do. And because of these efforts, we continue to grow, to innovate, and to lead. So let's continue this journey together, embracing the changes and challenges that come our way. Let's build a profession that is a source of pride for all of us today, tomorrow, and for years and generations to come. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to answering your questions. Now, to facilitate the Q&A portion of this session, it's my honor to welcome two prestigious CPAs as our moderators, Scott Monroe and Sylvie Monette. Scott is the Chief Executive Officer of the First Nations Financial Management Board, a First Nations-led nonprofit organization that supports First Nations in developing sound financial and administrative governance practices. As an Indigenous CPA, Scott has played a pivotal role in shaping sustainability standards, both at the global and Canadian scale. Sylvie has a very cool job as a CPA. Sylvie is the Vice President of Finance and Corporate Controller at Cirque du Soleil, and the Vice Chair, this is the cool part, no, just kidding, and the Vice Chair of the Reporting and Assurance Oversight Council, otherwise known as RASOC. And during her 32 years as practicing as a CPA, Sylvie has performed several functions for a variety of private and public entities, including retail, financial services, telecommunications, energy, and natural resources. So owing to her diverse work experience and familiarity with accounting standards, she has an in-depth understanding of their impact on people, systems, and operations. And it's really my honor to welcome them here today.
That's great. On behalf of Sylvie and myself, I want to thank you both for opening in such a good way and for having both myself and Sylvie here today with each of you. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region here in southern Alberta, as well as the Métis Nation of Alberta. It is a wonderful opportunity to engage directly on matters that are integral to our profession. In my role with the FMB and as an FCPA, I appreciate CPA Canada's ability to bring to the fore a diverse set of views from various segments of our profession, including some that have been underrepresented historically. Consultation and collaboration are deeply embedded in Indigenous governance principles. This is why I want to further explore this concept in my first question. And also to thank you, Pamela, for your coming to present CPA Canada's survey findings to CPAs at both the FMB and the First Nations Finance Authority earlier this summer. This reinforces to me CPA Canada's commitment to inclusivity and partnership. So, Pamela, can you begin by elaborating on what CPA Canada's consultative process has actually entailed? Specifically, how did CPA Canada ensure that our voices, members' voices, were not only heard, but meaningfully integrated into your plans for the future?
Thanks so much, Scott. And again, I echo Beth's comments. Thank you both, Sylvie and Scott, for joining us today. So obviously, we have spoken many times about this, and consultation is really at the heart of what a member organization does. We work for you, not the other way around. And it was very important to us shortly after Ontario and Quebec decided to leave the national body that we really find out what members think. And so we started early in January with a very simple survey that we sent out to members, a poll, in fact, that we sent out with 3 very simple questions. The first question was, do you believe in the importance of a strong national accounting body? The second was, do you want to be consulted about what's going on at that national body? And the third question was, what are the topics that you think are most important to be consulted with respect to as we move forward as CPA Canada? We were delighted to find out that, in fact, 89% of CPAs, so 89% of you, told us they believed really, really strongly in a strong national body. Secondly, not only that, but 91% of you, so even more, said, yes, please, we want to be consulted. And then there was a long list of different topics about which CPAs wanted to have a discussion and a dialogue with CPA Canada. That really gave us a mandate to do more. So in April, we went out to all of our members with a survey that was much more detailed, and it was independently done by Léger. And at the same time, we did a number of focus groups as well, right across the country in both languages, en français and en anglais. And we asked CPAs to tell us more about the topics that they had selected as part of that earlier poll. We were delighted that over 12,000 of you took the time to go through and provide detailed responses and comments. So thank you, all of you, for participating. We were absolutely blown away that of the 12,000 completed responses we had over 6,000 incredibly busy CPAs say, hey, this is really, really important to me. I would like to be involved in focus groups and further discussions. So that really led to a long series of different discussions, both for the whole membership, as we are doing today. We did that in June and today, and we'll continue to do that, as well as with different employer groups, different associations, so that we could hear from as many members as possible. And we could also hear from employers and other interested and affected parties who would have a stake or would have something to say about how they saw the accounting profession and its impact on the financial ecosystem in Canada. And so we felt that through that process, and of course, not excluding, we wanted to make sure that we heard Indigenous voices. So thank you so much for coordinating that for us, because it was very important, and it will continue to be important to us to hear from you. As I said at the outset, we work for you. It's not the other way around. And we are delighted to continue to hear from you, to listen, to learn from your questions, and your thoughtful feedback as we go forward.
Thank you, Pamela, for that very in-depth, insightful explanation. It's clear that the consultative process was not only thorough, but deeply focused on truly understanding and addressing member feedback. It's encouraging, I think, to see how CPA Canada is taking very meaningful steps to ensure that the collective voice of Canadian CPAs, including those in the room and online today, are reflected in that path forward. So thank you. Beth, I'll turn to you next. I want to first thank you for your opening remarks and sharing your vision of a CPA Canada that's both innovative and inclusive, as well as for your optimism. I could certainly hear that come through in your voice. The optimism that you have about the future of our profession, which I do share. It's inspiring to hear how focused you are on preparing us for the challenges and opportunities ahead. And it really underscores the strength and resilience of our profession. As we look forward to this future, what steps do you think CPA Canada can take to help Canadian CPAs continue to thrive?
Okay, thanks very much, Scott. Two thoughts, if I might, with respect to that. First of all, I see a really important role for CPA Canada to play in championing the interests of Canadian CPAs across a wide array of sectors that everybody operates in. And that's a champion role, it's an advocacy role. I think a good example of that is the advocacy work that CPA Canada already does in the area of tax policy. And there are a number of other areas where CPA Canada can really lean into that and leverage the relationships and the credibility and the partnerships that we have with not just other national organizations, bodies, and the government, but importantly on the global stage as well. So I think there's an opportunity there for CPA Canada to again leverage its credibility and relationships, and the opportunity it has to be part of some of these conversations to ensure that the Canadian perspective and that the Canadian CPA profession is being heard at those tables, and not just heard, but also respected and having an impact in those conversations. The second thing that I think of course, is our traditional role in really equipping CPAs with the knowledge, the skills, and the resources that they need to learn and to adapt, and then to lead in their organizations, particularly in this rapidly changing environment that I talked about in my comments. And there I think about, well, first of all, just coming back to a point that Pamela had made around consultation, when Pamela and the team were talking to CPAs across the country, they heard a lot about needs in this area, and particularly where CPAs were looking for CPA Canada to provide more resources and more learning opportunities and toolkits. And, you know, not surprisingly, those are things like artificial intelligence or sustainability practices and sustainability reporting. So we will obviously be doing all of that. And I think about our history of providing award-winning thought leadership, research, guidance, and toolkits to support CPAs. And as a national body, we have a very unique opportunity to provide that kind of best-in-class material because it can be informed by a national perspective. It can draw on an international perspective and resources, and often we do our thought leadership, in fact, in partnership with other organizations. And then specifically, you know, think as a subset of those resources, I think about the guidance that we provide to assist CPAs in the implementation of standards beyond sort of that board authorized guidance. So all of the supplementary guidance and resources. And as the national body that has historically provided the technical expertise to standard settings, there's such a depth of talent at CPA Canada and a institutional knowledge that is built up and an ability to provide, you know, enhanced guidance and support to CPAs. It's really informed by the context of those standards being set. So obviously, as standards continue to evolve and change and grow, we'll continue to provide that. I mean, I think cutting through all of this, Scott, is our desire to ensure that we're empowering and supporting CPAs really at every stage of their professional journey.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Beth, for sharing those thoughtful insights on how CPA Canada can continue to help CPAs thrive in this evolving landscape. Your roadmap that you've described for us and for the future, I think really reinforces the profession's adaptability and strength and resilience. We certainly appreciate your leadership and dedication as we move forward together. So thank you.
So as a fellow CPA and in my role with Cirque du Soleil, and for those who don't know who Cirque du Soleil is, I would say Cirque du Soleil, it's a Canadian entertainment company and the largest contemporary circus producer in the world, which, by the way, is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Now, I truly appreciate in that role all that is needed over the years to build an internationally recognized and renowned brand based on creativity. And due to that experience, I can see that the value that CPA Canada brings is very similar. Throughout the years, CPA Canada has built a brand. It's a national brand, and it's renowned nationally and internationally. And we can be proud of what has been built. Keep on, flip, thank you. I just changed it, my description a bit. So I feel it's really important to remember that the brand of CPA Canada is our brand, and that's where the value lies. We have created that brand over the years, and thanks to CPA Canada's leadership and everything they've done, they are the owner of that brand. As Vice Chair of Reporting and Assurance Oversight Council, I've experienced firsthand the value which CPA Canada's credibility and accumulated goodwill provides as our board members influence international standard setting to ensure Canada's perspectives are considered. And I think here it's important not to underestimate and to understand the difference between the standard setting and the guidance that's being provided. CPA Canada provides the guidance, it's not the standard setter. So that's an important role that CPA Canada provides, and they're kind of working hand in hand together with the standard setters. So this incredible asset that CPA Canada has developed over the years and that a profession proudly owns will be preserved and flourished under the new CPA Canada offering. Pamela, could you please share more about CPA Canada international work and how it supports Canadian CPAs in maintaining a strong global presence and influence?
Thank you, Sylvie. And I do think you have one of the coolest jobs in accounting. I think there's consensus on that. But we are proud, and I take that as an example and a huge compliment with respect to the brand of CPA Canada internationally. And in fact, we can back that up with some proof as well. So not only do I just say that we're one of the most influential bodies globally, but last year we came second globally as Professional Accounting Organization of the Year, which is a testament to the great work of this organization. And truly, I'm really proud that we did gain that recognition from our international peers. And as one of the largest accounting bodies worldwide as well, we have a responsibility to our colleagues internationally, and it's one that we really do take seriously. We work with our colleagues. We share best practices among each other so that we all get better together and that we collaborate with one another. I think, as Beth already mentioned, we do a number of thought leadership pieces with our international colleagues. So we do participate actively with a number of groups like the International Federation of Accountants, the Global Accounting Alliance, as well as the IFRS Foundation, ISSB, IAASB, and IESBA. And then as well, you know, Canada is a bilingual country, so we do support FIDEF, which is the International Francophone membership body, and that's a really exciting part of our work as well. So on thought leadership, just to mention a few recent examples of work where we do collaborate and we publish internationally, we are currently doing a series on artificial intelligence with our neighbors to the south, the AICPA. I think the first 2 papers of that have now been released. And we work with IFAC on things like anti-money laundering, which is a huge global issue that's only continuing to get more complex and more difficult to keep ahead of. And so we work with our international colleagues on that. And of course, we are a proud capacity building partner with the IFRS Foundation and the ISSB in sustainability, where we are delighted to understand that of the over 120 international organizations who are participating as capacity building partners to the ISSB, we are in the top 5, which is again a great testament to the work that we do and the quality of the resources that we provide and share to the world. But what I think is most important to recognize is that at CPA Canada, we represent all of you. We represent Canada and the richness that is all the different regional wonders that we have in Canada, from our marine environments to our extractive industries, to our industries and our financial services sector. And that is so rich. And we take that richness and we take it with us when we go to the world. And when we talk to our international colleagues and we can relate with them, create and share best practices among each other. And then we, in turn, get the benefit of that work that we do together internationally so that we can bring that back to Canada and bring it to you and provide it to you in the form of that thought leadership, the challenges and the opportunities that are emerging in the global markets that will make their way here to Canada and where we can seize the opportunity. So I'm really excited about the work that we do. Thank you so much for that question.
Yes, and thank you for that detailed, insightful response. I'm just going to add again something new. As I said, creativity, collaboration, diversity that we all have in Canada are keys to success and adds to the renowned reputation we have worldwide, and also adds to the goodwill that we have as a national profession. So Pamela, in fact, your leadership in maintaining a strong global presence, especially throughout this difficult period, and ensuring the success of CPA Canada, is something that's very valuable, and we should all be proud, and we thank you for that. So then I move on to a question for Beth. Can't find it. Thank you for sharing CPA Canada's ongoing commitment to standard setting and the crucial role it plays in maintaining the integrity of our profession. Can you elaborate on how CPA Canada plans to continue supporting standard setting, particularly in areas like sustainability, which is increasingly important in the global stage?
Thanks, Sylvie. I feel pressure given who you are and your role is to sort of get this answer right. I think there's three things that I want to say in response to your question. First, with respect to standard setting, when it comes to standards, I think we can all agree that having independent standards that have been well understood and adopted in a marketplace, that's a cornerstone to the effective functioning of our capital markets and our financial ecosystem. And so we're really proud of our legacy of providing support to independent standard setters in Canada. And as the boards, the standard setting boards and the oversight councils adopt the recommendations of the Independent Review Committee on Standard Setting, CPA Canada will continue to provide that technical expertise and staff support to those independent standard setting boards. Second, and Sylvie, you already made this distinction, so thank you for queuing me up for this, but second, there's guidance, which is separate and distinct from the technical support provided to the standard setting bodies. And there, CPA Canada will continue to provide guidance, resources, and toolkits to assist CPAs in implementing standards. But importantly, as those standards start to evolve and change, and sort of segue to sustainability in a minute, but think about sustainability, there's a lot of capacity building that needs to happen within our country, and CPAs who are in diverse sizes of organizations, from sort of large, well-resourced organizations with sophisticated experience in applying standards to smaller organizations, and everybody to some degree is probably going to be affected by all the changes happening in the standard setting arena, and we have an opportunity to really support there, and we will continue to do that. And then third, with respect to sustainability reporting, look, I think this global wave of demand for new metrics, disclosure, sustainability reporting, it's not going away. It's really being driven by the investor community and their demand for new and different information to inform investment decisions and enterprise valuations. And so I think irrespective of your views on sustainability reporting or how you feel about a particular disclosure standard, the most important thing is for CPAs to be at the center of and part of that conversation. Because historically, we're the ones with the credibility around generating financial information, right? Reporting financial information, interpreting financial information, auditing financial information. And so it's really important that we be part of that conversation, and CPA Canada is committed to doing that and working with standard setters and also working globally at various tables in that regard. There's also an opportunity for us leveraging being a national body and our convening power to ensure that CPAs across the country are being educated, are being kept informed, so that they can all lean in and participate in the standard setting process by, responding, attending focus groups, responding to exposure drafts, that sort of thing. And so we'll continue to play a role doing that as well.
And if I may add, I actually gave a course on sustainability to the people at work, and somebody answers, wow, it's amazing the things we'll have to report on and audit in 20 years. I said, no, it's not going to be in 20 years. We're looking much shorter time than, and all the work that needs to be done to be prepared. I can't think of a better organization than CPA Canada to make sure that we do that in time and be the best at it and be efficient, and also transfer that knowledge to the ISSB to make sure that we have the proper standards.
Yeah. And just building on that, Sylvie, and I know Pamela already mentioned this, our role as an ISSB capacity building partner, part of what we're doing as CPA Canada is also to bring sort of information, resources, and toolkits to the global stage. But again, drawing on the diversity here in Canada, whether that's different sort of industries and sectors, but also the fact that the diversity of size of organization in our capital markets, right? We have a lot of, venture exchange participants, and that's been a really important consideration on the global stage as well, in terms of thinking about standards for different sectors, different size organizations. And Canada has all of that diversity here. So we've really been able to bring those voices and help to influence at the global stage as well.
And it's so important to keep on doing that in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, comme vous savez, vous avez pu remarquer, je suis un fellow CPA québécoise. Alors, J'apprécie vraiment
As you
l'engagement.
might have noted,
As you
I'm a
know.
Quebec CPA, so I greatly appreciate CPA Canada's bilingualism. Now, is it a priority that one will continue, and how do you foresee value the international aspects of our profession?
J'espère que je peux répondre. Mais CPA Canada a profondément à
I hope I can answer. Basically, CPA Canada is highly focused on bilingualism and Francophone countries and regions. So not only in Canada, but around the world. In 2023 only, we translated more than 9,700 documents with more than 7 million words. We translate surveys, standards, our professional training program, and all resources that we make public and for CPAs. We also have a French certificate from the OQLF for our office in Montreal. We also offer many resources, publications, and activities for professional development in French and obviously in English as well as a French version of Pivot, our magazine. CPA Canada supplies an official French translation, not just in Canada, but of international accounting standards like IFRS and ISSB standards as well. CPA Canada takes note of all of the work done by the international accounting associations, and given our commitment to Francophone and French-speaking information, all CPAs have the resources that they need in the language of their choice. I am very lucky because I can speak French often with my colleagues here in Canada, so with my Francophone colleagues like Sylvie, and around the world as well. In Canada, we have a big advantage as we speak two languages, and we need to take advantage of that. Thank you, Sylvie. Thank you to you, Pamela. Thank you for highlighting the importance of bilingualism, both nationally and internationally. It's reassuring to know that CPA Canada continues to attribute importance to this. The way in which CPA Canada will continue to represent around the world is precious, and we know that this is important for many members as well as those in Quebec.
Switch gears a little bit and start focusing on some of the questions that we've received from many of you, both here in the room and online. We've received some pre-submitted questions, which we'll look at to address first before opening the floor to live questions. So be ready to do that, please. Our first question comes from Osman. Osman, who asks, are there any initiatives to improve the CPA brand in international markets? So maybe, Pamela, I'll turn this one over to you first.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Scott. We've talked a little bit already today about international markets, and I think what's really important to note is that CPA Canada, but more importantly, Canadian CPAs are incredibly well respected and have a great deal of credibility wherever they go internationally. You know, it really isn't just a career choice. It is that international passport to a really limitless career where you can do so many things in so many places. You were telling me earlier, Scott, that you've had the fortune of traveling beyond our borders to work as well, which is great, as have I. Members have told us the value and what it means to be recognized and to have that great professional reputation, that brand of CPA Canada, as Sylvie said earlier, and the professional mobility it affords. And through our voice in global conversations, CPA Canada actively enhances that profile, that brand, and our visibility and our influence globally, which is just amazing. We have a seat at the table to increase the influence of our profession at global accounting bodies, but also in bigger forums, like going to COP last year in Dubai, like participating with the OECD, the United Nations, and other broader fora that where the financial ecosystem is implicated everywhere. We are also fortunate that we do have MRAs, so mutual reciprocity agreements, with 12 different jurisdictions globally that will allow you to move with your designation. So if you move and you have that opportunity to work internationally, you can hit the ground running right away with your professional designation being recognized in those other countries. And we are really excited whenever we get the opportunities, as I will tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., to meet and discuss with our international colleagues and talk about the partnering that we do and the research that we have into trends that affect CPAs and our brand globally, the talent pipeline, artificial intelligence, all of those things that we are all going to be affected by. We want to know how to make sure that we set you up for success in meeting these opportunities and these disruptions in the future.
Thanks, Pamela. Yeah, the idea of that accounting global passport certainly resonates with me. As you mentioned, yeah, I've had the good pleasure of early in my career to work under US GAAP in different parts of North America, worked in the UK with IFRS, and now more recently working with First Nations here in this country with public sector accounting standards in particular. The opportunities, that breadth that we are exposed to is fantastic. It's a huge, huge asset. We've received a number of questions seeking an update regarding how the discussions with CPA Ontario and the Quebec CPA order are going in relation to the withdrawals that we know about and we've heard about. In addition, we've also received many questions regarding the launch of CPA Canada's new offering for CPAs in both Ontario and Quebec. So to keep things moving, I suggest that we can address these in two parts. Beth, I'll start with you. Could you please start by sharing with us any updates regarding those discussions that are underway?
Yeah, sure, Scott. I'm happy to make a couple of comments there. Maybe just to level set and step back for a moment as a reminder for everybody that CPA Ontario and CPA Quebec chosen to withdraw from the collaboration accord, and that's effective in December 2024. So as a result of that, CPA Canada, we need to find new ways to work together with CPA Ontario and CPA Quebec. And all three bodies have been really focused on advancing agreements in areas of importance to the national profession, where we want to continue to work together, particularly around education and standard setting. And back in November, there was an announcement that terms had been agreed to with respect to education, and I'm optimistic based on current discussions that there will be an agreement, a final agreement reached on education and standard setting soon.
That's excellent. It's reassuring.
Yeah, and actually, Scott, just if I can sort of add to that, I think that's about how CPA Canada and Ontario and Quebec as bodies will work together. In addition, there's the next thing Pamela is going to address, which is how do individual CPAs in Ontario and Quebec continue to be engaged with the organization. But I don't want us to get sort of pulled into the weeds of that discussion when the most important thing to keep top of mind is that CPA Canada will continue to collaborate and work with all 13 provincial, territorial, and Bermudian bodies focused on doing things together that are in the best interest of the profession and all Canadian CPAs.
Well, thank you, Beth, for, I think, putting some minds at ease, including mine. That's excellent and brings confidence that we're moving ahead in a good way. And so maybe for the second part of that question, I'll look to you, Pamela. Maybe you could please highlight some of the key aspects behind the new model and opportunity for those in Ontario and Quebec.
Thanks, Scott. Well, I mean, as we talked about earlier, it was really important for us to talk to as many CPAs across Canada as possible in the consultation process. And what we did hear loud and clear was that everyone values a strong national body, and Ontario and Quebec members want to be a part of their national body. So earlier this month, in fact, last week, just after Labor Day, we were delighted to be able to launch our new offer for Ontario and Quebec CPAs to stay a part of their national body. And so that is a really great development that we're very excited about. And our work is really clear and distinct from that of the provinces. As I said earlier already today, we're not a regulator and we don't want to be or pretend to be. We play a very clear and distinct role in the Canadian accounting system. Our focus is really on championing you, on championing the CPAs. Like I said earlier, we work for you, not the other way around. And so we want to make sure that we champion you as well as the profession as a whole, both nationally and internationally. So that September 4th, we rolled out that new opportunity that allows them to sign up and become part. And I was very happy to be signee number 1 and then in CPA Canada from Ontario. We believe that there is strength in numbers. There really, really is, both here at home as well as around the world. And that's why we're really proud to offer CPAs in Ontario and Quebec that opportunity to stay part of the fabric and really that community, that network, that family that is all of us having the CPA designation together. We are stronger together.
Pamela, if I can add to that before our next question, I think it's very inspiring that you've listened to what the members said. And based on what the members said, what they wanted, you move forward and you're making it happen. And I think we really have to appreciate that. So now let's turn to a question from Michael, who asks, more top finance jobs no longer require a CPA designation. What is CPA Canada's plan to address this issue? Pamela, perhaps you could provide a response to that question.
Michael, that's a great question. And it is one we think about quite a lot. The last statistic I looked at, about 70% of Canada's CFOs are CPAs. But what I think is even more exciting is, especially since the pandemic, how many CPAs are actually not becoming CFOs, they're becoming CEOs. And I think that's really important to note. I think it's a great opportunity for the skill set that we have that is getting wider and wider, as well as deeper and deeper. We're absorbing more and more all of the time and being called on to do more things. I'm sure you wear more than one hat at Cirque du Soleil, even if it isn't a clown hat, sorry. I couldn't help it. But we all do so many things and are capable of so many things as CPAs. So while I think it's important that we do take those top jobs, as we'll call them, I actually see so much opportunity. And in fact, there's a shortage. There has never been more demand for CPAs than right now, than today. And I think it's so exciting as an opportunity. If I think about young people considering career opportunities, it's never been a better time to be a CPA. If you think about all of the great things Beth was talking about with respect to sustainability, that's going to create a ton of jobs. If you think about all of the things and the evolution that's happening with respect to technology, advanced data analytics and models, that requires those base skills that the CPA has of good judgment, being able to test things critically, looking at things with professional skepticism. So I really see that today is the best time ever to be a CPA. And with such a shortage, that means there's going to be a lot of really exciting opportunities and many opportunities for those CPAs to branch out in their career. So while I agree, and certainly we will continue to work on behalf of the importance of having a good CPA designation and what that means in organizations and businesses in terms of quality, credibility, and knowledge. I'm really excited, actually, by all the opportunities and seeing more and more CPAs in, yes, the CFO role, for sure, we will always be there, but I'm delighted to see even more CPAs taking on that top job as the CEO as well.
Pamela, can I just add to that, if I might? I was struck by the question because I thought about the role that I play at a number of organizations as a board director, and often, surprise, surprise, I find myself chairing the audit committee. You know, and interestingly, on a few occasions, particularly maybe at not-for-profits, this question has come up as they've been recruiting a CFO or a VP finance. Do we require a CPA designation? And so I guess my ask for, many of the senior CPAs out there who are in these positions of influence, I think it's incumbent on us to also advocate for the profession and to influence those decisions and to explain why it is important to have a CPA in these roles, what the designation means, what it brings in terms of the skill set and the integrity and the professional judgment that comes with that candidate. So obviously, there's a role for CPA Canada and the provincial bodies to play in that regard, but I also think there's an opportunity here for all of us individually to be advocates for our profession as well.
Yeah, we need to be ambassadors.
Absolutely.
For sure.
An excellent point. Thank you. I would also add that Cirque du Soleil CEO is a CPA. So yes, we are going for CPAs. So thank you, Pamela. And now I'll turn to the question from Melanie, who asks, what are the biggest challenges and opportunities you foresee the profession facing in the next 3 to 5 years? Beth, I'll turn this one over for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, Melanie, I think I always think of challenges as opportunities, so I'm glad you framed your question in that regard. And I think that's whether that's disruptive forces or new competitive forces or sort of the other sort of disruptive changes that we're seeing, all of those are opportunities. And I think just building on the point that I just made, I think it's really incumbent on us as a professional body, but also individual CPAs to really lean into those opportunities. We need to seize them and we need to own the space that those opportunities are creating. And there's really, I think, three big ones come to mind for me. And no surprise, the first one is technological advances. And technological advances are not new to our profession. I think we've seen them at force now for a number of years and seen the way that technology has really changed the nature of the work that accountants are doing. It's also changed the nature of the roles that we play in organizations. But there's no doubt that generative AI is going to bring that at such an accelerated pace. And that's going to create all kinds of opportunity because it's going to change the way information is generated, the way it's consumed, the way it's reported, the way we audit it. And all of those are opportunities for CPAs to really step into. In addition, there's no doubt that AI and technology advances are going to automate a lot of routine work that traditionally, accountants have done at different stages of their career. And that's exciting because it creates an opportunity for CPAs to sort of elevate the nature of their roles in organizations and lean even more into strategic analysis and advice and sort of broadening the portfolio of responsibilities that they take on. And I think that's true no matter where you are in your career journey, but it's probably no more true than for younger professionals. And that's exciting, the opportunity to sort of graduate and be newly designated and, not have to sort of do bank reconciliations if I harken back to my own training, but to really do sort of more advanced and strategic work right at the outset of your career. Second one I would refer to, Sylvie, is the complex and changing environment with respect to standards and regulations. And while that poses, I think, challenges in terms of navigating all of that, it's a great opportunity for CPAs to help their organizations and to help their clients navigate those standards, understand the application of the standards, and operating in a global economy, also figure out where the differences lie. And unfortunately, we still have a lot of differences across borders in terms of standards and the speed of adoption of new standards and different frameworks. And all of that needs a CPA to help organizations work their way through. But it also provides an opportunity for CPAs to influence and advocate with respect to those standards. I also think that in that environment, we're going to see increasing demand for different types, different metrics. I mean, we've already talked about sustainability metrics as an example, but there will be increasing demand for other financial and non-financial metrics. Those need standardization. they need to have integrity. They need to be credible. And CPAs have traditionally played that role. And so again, I think there's an opportunity for us as a profession to step in front of that trend and make sure that we are at the center of it, as our traditional financial reporting models, inevitably are going to get challenged. And then the third one, and I don't want to duplicate all the great things that Pamela said, but it has to be talent, right? It has to be around maintaining that pipeline of talent coming into the profession, really engaging people in the profession. And I think that's incumbent on us as a body and as individuals to be proactive and really quite aggressive in getting the message out about all of the opportunities that are in front of CPAs, why the designation really sets you up well to have an amazing, rewarding career, and how some of these changes are really setting CPAs up to have an even more meaningful career path and do really impactful work. I agree with Pamela. I don't think there's a better time to be in this profession. I kind of wish maybe I was a new grad and I could be looking at this suite of opportunities in front of me and deciding, am I going to really lean in and sharpen my, AI tech skills, or do I want to become the go-to expert in sustainability and disclosure, reporting and measurements? I think there's all kinds of opportunities, and just what a great time for people to come into this profession.
Yeah, and I echo that. It's a challenging environment in many respects, but what opportunity! It's incredible. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more, Beth. So thank you for that response. I'll just point out that we're going to move soon to the online questions and those in the Slido app. So maybe start thinking about that. But before we do that, we'll go to our last pre-submitted question from Bo this time. Bo asks, with the increasing global emphasis on sustainability, reporting, and ESG factors, how is CPA Canada positioning its members to take on leadership roles in these areas? What specific initiatives or resources are being developed to help CPAs integrate these critical aspects into their professional practices? So Pamela, I'll put this to you.
Thanks so much, Scott, and thank you, Bo, for that question. We've already talked quite a lot today about sustainability and what that is bringing to the profession. Already, we've provided a lot of resources in terms of what's available to you now on the Sustainability Knowledge Hub created by the International Sustainability Standards Board. And I mentioned we're already there, top 5 in the world in terms of capacity building partners. There's over 120. So there's not only our resources, but the resources of many different organizations that you can refer to on that capacity building hub, that knowledge sharing hub. In addition, we've come out with a number of bulletins over time as things have gotten clearer, especially after the ISSB issued S1 and S2 last year. And of course, Sylvie's been involved with the CSSB here in Canada, who are currently deliberating. There was an exposure draft earlier this year. They are deliberating now for the finalization of those 2 standards modeled on S1, S2. And we've done a lot of work in consulting, again, with members, with organizations, both from the business side, the investor side, as well as the preparer side, so those in the CFO and the controller functions. And we are happy to hear from what the needs are, where the gaps are, because there are gaps. There are gaps in tools available. There are gaps in skills. We have a lot of those skills, but we need new skills, which is, again, really exciting to me. And we're here to help you with that. So between the bulletins that we have, all of the resources that we have available to you already on that knowledge building, capacity building hub with IFRS, as well as we now offer an in-depth sustainability certificate. It is totally oversubscribed, so we're trying to get even more teachers so that we can offer that to more and more CPAs and others who can really benefit from the really highly valuable curriculum that has been created by our team, who are right here in the front row, which is great to see. Thank you. And so we're really delighted to be a part of that. And again, it's like the Wild West. It's an ever-evolving community of practice. And so we learn from our international colleagues. Of course, we find out what's happening south of the border. It's in a bit of flux, as you might know, what's happening already and the expectations coming out in Europe and what we're going to see in terms of next year as they have to go not just to report, but also the big one, which is assurance next year. And so that is going to offer all sorts of opportunities for us to learn and then adapt to what works here in Canada. How do we, as an example, and Scott has been a shining light on this, how do we incorporate Indigenous views? And his organization was recognized by the ISSB in early meetings as, the knowledge keepers in that beneficial generational learning and consultativeness. And actually many of those principles have been adopted by the International Sustainability Standards Board. And I know they were profoundly impacted by the work and the presentation of Scott and the Financial Management Board when they came here last year. So there is a wealth of information, and we continue to keep working and doubling down on the sustainability topic so that we can equip you for what's coming next, because there is no doubt that with the financials, who better than the CPA in the organization who has that trust, who has that credibility, who understands control environments and frameworks, who has the relationship with the investors, who better to take on that work in a trusted, credible, and effective way. And I'm really, really excited and delighted about what opportunities that brings to our profession going forward.
Thank you for those words, Pamela. And yes, I think the decision by CPA Canada and in fact many of the provincial CPA body leaders to make space for Indigenous voices and to look for the wisdom that comes by doing that is a huge asset to us all. And it brings a level of knowledge and perspectives that I don't think would easily be found otherwise. So I think it complements our work in sustainability. I encourage everyone in this room, but CPA Canada to continue that journey working with Indigenous peoples. Thank you both for your responses to these good questions. We'll now turn to some of the live questions. So for those in the room, please feel free to submit submit that you've been thinking about using the Slido access code displayed on the screen. And then for those of you that are joining virtually, please just enter your questions in the chat. And we'll be picking questions, and I'll be putting, Sylvia and I will be putting those questions to our esteemed colleagues here. So bear with us as we sort of make a little transition here, and we will start things off. So I'll start, and maybe Sylvie will go after me with a question. Pardon me?
Can the access code?
Is there an access code we could put up on screen?
Put it back.
I think we would benefit from having that displayed again. So maybe we'll give that a few seconds. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, we want everyone to have the chance. So I know it takes a few minutes sometimes to get all the apps going and everything. So there we go.
Slido technology. It's a wonderful thing, but it can be a challenge.
Exactly, that's right. This hybrid operating environment is always a little tricky, right? When you're trying to do things digitally and in person. So good, I'll just wait till I go back to the screen in a few seconds. Great. Okay, well, great. We really appreciate everyone taking the time to be involved and to think of some questions. And I think we have, to start things off, we have Prakash, who has asked an interesting question. And I'll put this to Pamela. What additional benefits will CPA Canada provide that CPA Ontario, or perhaps the order in Quebec, cannot provide? It's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question, and thank you, Prakash. I think we've talked about a number of them, but I'll just enumerate them again now. So really, when you're part of CPA Canada, you're part of a national network, and it's a national community. And the one which starts tomorrow, our national conference, is that real opportunity for everybody to come together and get that richness of diversity that is Canada, right? And to have everybody's voice reflected. So that's number one, that you can't get just in a singular province, at least in my opinion. The second is then that international component, that international voice, and getting all of that information and that two-way street flow. So us taking your views from all of Canada, taking the best of that to the world, creating best practices together, and then bringing the best of the world back to Canada. That's super rich and exciting. We also have a very long history of providing excellent and award-winning, in fact, thought leadership that is available to our members currently and will be to those who join from Ontario and Quebec. That thought leadership really focuses on what are those things that are next? How do they protect you? How do they equip you? How do they enable you to thrive as CPAs in the future? Things like artificial intelligence, things like sustainability and how that's evolving on the world stage, things like anti-money laundering that I mentioned earlier, which is evolving very, very rapidly. And then we get to other aspects of belonging to a national body, like the opportunities that we provide for small and medium practitioners. We haven't talked too much about the different segments, but for small and medium practitioners, we act almost like your national office if you're a big 7 or big 8 national firm. We provide you those checklists, those tools, those templates, the quality management guide as an example, that is only done at the national level and is really, really helpful alongside the guidance, the work that we do across CPA Canada, and then with our standard setting boards in that two-way street that is so, so effective. And then that advocacy that we do on the national stage. So if you're a tax practitioner, you know that we have you covered from cradle to grave, as it were, in terms of your in-depth tax program that we provide that has been the standard across Canada for many, many years, and we continue to evolve and change that program. And we do that in concert and in partnership with all the big 7 accounting firms, plus others, the academics, and even CRA. And in fact, CRA now sends their staff to our in-depth tax program to make sure that they're well equipped in their work for the future. So we have that great pre-certification. So before you're a CPA education, we take you right through your career as well to make sure that you are technically adept, you are ready to face what comes in the future. And we're really excited about offering that to all of the CPAs in Ontario and Quebec as part of this new offering.
I would also add the pride of being part of CPA Canada. Just as proud we are when we're named CPAs, when we pass those exams and everything, there's pride attached to that. There's also pride attached to being a member of CPA Canada. Question from Amalie, this will be for Beth. Will our dues go up? How will Ontario and Quebec share in the cost of CPA Canada?
Right. I'm assuming that that question is coming from outside of Ontario and Quebec, so I want to be really clear that your CPA Canada dues, if you are a CPA outside of those 2 provinces, will not be going up. In fact, those dues have remained the same
since 2018.
Since 2018. Thank you, Pamela. I knew you would have the year. I don't have it. Those dues will not be going up. Second part of the question was, how will Ontario and Quebec share in the cost of CPA Canada? So I think, as we talked about before, as a result of the withdrawals of Ontario and Quebec, we have a new model now with Ontario and Quebec, where those 2 bodies will be paying for buying services directly from CPA Canada and providing funding in some core areas in that regard. And then separately, individual CPAs in that province who choose to belong to CPA Canada will join as members and be paying individually for access to certain services and benefits.
Great. Thank you. So a question for Pamela this time. Shirley asks, Shirley's from Ontario, and she says, when CPA Ontario decouples, or I guess separates from CPA Canada, what are the opportunities for CPA Ontario to participate in all the global efforts that CPA Canada is currently engaged in?
Well, I think that's a really great question, Shirley. I'm from Ontario, as you probably know, as well. And what I would say is what we've heard from CPAs in Ontario and Quebec is that they really want to belong and have their voices heard right across the globe. And so we will absolutely continue to offer those opportunities for those CPAs who sign up with CPA Canada to be involved in those international conversations, because we do really value taking the voices of everyone who is in our profession from Canada, and we can take that to the world. So I'm really delighted that we will continue to do that for CPAs in Ontario.
I have a really nice question here from the room for Pamela. What opportunities are available for ordinary members to volunteer or participate in the running of CPA Canada?
Wow, that's a big question.
Somebody's
Come on along. I'm really excited. We don't know who that is, but come and find me because we've got lots. So for those who sign up for CPA Canada, there are tons and tons of opportunities. We have many different types of committees that we run in terms of, you name it. So we have different tax committees and many specializations within that group. We have a number of members who are parts of organizations, private companies. We have the standard setting boards. Mm-hmm. So we've got both the public sector as well as the Oversight Council. They're both volunteers, thank you very much, that are part of those bodies. And then we have our wonderful board of directors as well. So there are many different volunteer opportunities on many different levels. And I think it's important also to recognize that your provincial bodies work with CPA Canada very closely on financial literacy. I'm a big proponent of that. CPA Canada creates most of the content. There's the Mastering Money conference, there's the podcast that we have hundreds of thousands of downloads on, and we provide that material and work with our partners in the different provincial bodies in order that there's an army of CPA volunteers who go to schools, who go to retirement communities, who help others with becoming more financially literate, because at the end of the day, our job isn't just confined to what we do as our paid gig, but it's also what we do to help the rest of our communities be better for Canada and to make Canada better for all its citizens.
And I can add, we also do little sales here. We have current openings in the Oversight Council and on the boards right now. So if you're interested, just go on the website and we have openings.
Great.
Yeah, and thank you for whoever raised that, the question around volunteerism. I too think it's actually, we undersell the value of that aspect, and it comes naturally to, I think, many in this profession. I think so many people just are pulled to do something, and if you've been thinking about maybe doing something, just try it. It's a great way to network. It's a great way to build your professional network and to give back in some meaningful ways. So I think that's a wonderful, wonderful question. I encourage that person and others to think about that. A couple other specific questions that maybe I'll lob to Pamela. Will a discounted CPA Canada membership fee be offered to CPAs in Ontario and Quebec who have retired from the workforce? Do you want to take that question first?
You bet. And this was a question that actually came up as a result of a lot of the consultation that we did. So thank you to all of you who participated in that and drew that to our immediate attention. And of course, many of our, I'm going to say, senior elevated.
Why did you point at me?
I didn't. Well, because you have so many board roles. I just think of senior when I think of you, but not senior citizen. Two different things.
You're in trouble now.
Oh, God, don't mess with the boss.
So well.
I know I was. Anyway, okay, back to the question. So those who are retired from the workforce, sorry, I'll pay for that one later. We recognize that a lot of them do a lot of volunteering like we just talked about. And in my mind, certainly the senior members of our profession who may have retired and maybe they are full-time board members now, they're not doing a full-time job. They are those to whom our new CPAs want to aspire. We want to know that there are these amazing people. That's why I was looking at you, and you guys too. That's where the new CPAs want to be. They see themselves. You want to see it to be it, right? And so knowing that many of these roles, thank you, are not paid roles, we recognize that maybe you're not in the same situation as you were before. And so we have absolutely come out with a discounted fee for those who are retired, or actually it's for those who are over 65, because there are differences in how the provinces work with the retirement criteria. So we just wanted to keep it simple. If you're over 65, you can avail yourself of the discounted price.
So if over 65 and not retired, do I still get it?
You're over 65, you're good. If you're, but I wouldn't have thought you weren't even close to that, Sylvie. But gonna have to talk to you after.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for clarifying that. And this is another question from Susan. Will CPAs in Ontario and Quebec continue to have volunteer opportunities at the national level if they choose not to retain their CPA Canada membership?
I'm going to consider that if they are interested in being part of the national level, that they're going to be CPA Canada, you know, they're going to take advantage of that. Certainly, there are committees that have non-CPAs as part of them. Right. That will not change. But if you want to volunteer with committees that are run by CPA Canada, then yes, you're going to have to be a part of CPA Canada, that's for sure.
Yep. Okay, that's fair. Okay, thank you for clarifying that question. I think we might have another one that we can put on screen, perhaps. There we go.
Okay, this question is from the room for Beth. How will CPA ensure the resources are available to CPAs? I guess there should be, how will CPA Canada ensure the resources are available to CPAs with respect to new standards or amendments?
Yeah, I think rest assured, if we're talking about the board issued official standards and board authorized guidance, all CPAs across the country, irrespective of the province you come from, will continue to have access to those standards. If you're talking about sort of unique sort of thought leadership or research work that CPA Canada does, then that will be available to members or those from Ontario and Quebec who take us up on the offer to join.
Good. Okay, we have a question from Sebastian. Sebastian asks, and maybe I'll direct this to you, Pamela, if we're not affiliated with CPA Canada, I take that to mean if you're not a member or no longer a member of CPA Canada, will we still have access to NOTIA, which I assume is reference to the standards collection, the online collection of resource material and other guidance?
So I'll answer that in a couple of ways, Sebastian, to make sure that I've understood your question. With respect to the standards collection, so the CPA Canada handbook and the authorized board guidance, you will still have access to that. That's one of the things Beth talked about earlier that we are working on with our colleagues in Ontario and Quebec. For other products, and there are other products on NOTIA, you will need to belong to CPA Canada, or you will pay what the public pays, which is a higher price. And so we are going to make it worth your while to want to be a member, or not a member, but to stay a part of CPA Canada.
Okay, question to Pamela from Mehmood. Will members of Ontario, Quebec who opt in have the same access to national body resources, and will there be a cost to them for it?
Mahmoud, that's a great question, and I didn't realize it makes sense that there might be some uncertainty out there. So the intent is fully equity across Canada. So for those who choose to take advantage of the offering that we're making to CPAs in Ontario and Quebec, you will have the same access to materials as the rest of Canada and the members of CPA Canada. So that's very, I want to make that very clear.
Good. Okay. Vanessa asks a question from Pamela. Will Ontario and Quebec lose representation on the board and other committees due to the departure? Or will those who choose to remain members still have some of those opportunities?
I'm going to throw that one and ask
to the board chair.
Yeah. Great.
No problem. So the answer to that question sort of go back to first principles here. So when Ontario and Quebec withdraw from the collaboration accord, the way our bylaws are structured, you can only be a member, i.e. a voting member of CPA Canada and eligible to be a director on our board if you're provincial body or territorial or Bermudian body is an organization member in CPA Canada. So effectively, when Ontario and Quebec withdrawal in December, that means that they will no longer have the ability to appoint representatives to our board.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay, thank you for clarifying that question. That was an important one, and some amazing range of questions, some of which I had never heard up until now. So I'm glad we were able to cover that. So we've run up to time at this point, which is a good sign because we've had lots of questions and lots of discussion, I feel. We'll need to now, unfortunately, bring this session to a close. I want to thank all of you for asking so many insightful questions, many of which I know Sylvie and I have been thinking about ourselves, and we've been hearing from other colleagues and other members as well. Thank you, Pamela and Beth, for addressing them with candor. I know we couldn't get to all of them, but the CPA Canada team assures me that they are combing through the remaining questions that have been submitted and will be updating the FAQ document on their website with responses to today's questions from our session. So with that, Pamela, I'll turn it to you for some parting thoughts.
Thanks so much, Scott, and thank you, Sylvie, for both of you for agreeing to share the stage and the hot seat with us today. As we wrap up and turn our attention to our profession's national conference tomorrow, the one, I really want to thank my colleagues here at CPA Alberta. There's a big cohort of them over there for really graciously co-hosting what promises to be an awesome, insightful, and really impactful event. And I want to thank also all of you in the room. It's a pretty full room today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us and to continue to engage with all your thoughtful questions. There were some good ones in there. Let me tell you, there were some good zingers in there. I really appreciate the fact that you continue to engage and collaborate with us on how we as a national body can really best support your needs. Again, we work for you, not the other way around. I understand that many of you do have additional questions about the recent launch. I do encourage you to reach out, take a look on our website for our FAQs. They are updated on a fairly regular basis, and take a look at all the different options that we have to get involved, to get engaged, and really tell us what you need from us, because we want to respond to that. Our continuous improvement journey is really, it's far from over. We got lots to do, and we want to be on this journey with you and helped by you and guided and shaped by you. So I encourage all of you to continue to share your input and keep asking those tough questions. We welcome them, because together we make the profession even stronger. Thanks again for adding your voice to this important conversation about the future of our national profession, and in doing so, you really have proven there is strength in numbers. Lastly, for those of you joining us in person today, feel free to make your way over to the North Building for the pre-conference reception in the exhibition hall. And once again, thank you very much to everyone. Merci beaucoup. C'est un honneur.
It's been an honor. Thank you. Have a great evening.